I need you to listen very carefully to what I'm about to tell you. Because after tonight, I'm never speaking about this again. My name is Captain David Morrison. I'm 47 years old, from Seattle, Washington. I've been a commercial airline pilot for 22 years. I've logged over 18,000 flight hours. I've flown through hurricanes, engine failures, and bird strikes. But nothing, and I mean nothing, prepared me for Flight 227. Before we begin, please hit that subscribe button. You'll want to follow this channel because the stories you're about to hear, they'll change how you see the world. And if you're enjoying this, smash that like button. Trust me, you'll need the support of this community after you hear what happened to me. It was October 31st, 2019. Halloween night. I was scheduled for a red-eye from Boston to Denver. Departure time, 11:47 p.m. My co-pilot was First Officer Rebecca Chen, 34 years old, sharp as a tack, ex-Air Force. Brilliant pilot. Short black hair, always wore her father's old aviator watch. She had just gotten engaged 2 weeks prior. I remember because she wouldn't stop showing everyone the ring. A beautiful solitaire diamond that caught the light every time she moved her hand. The aircraft was a Boeing 737-800. Tail number N8392K. I'll never forget that number. It's burned into my brain like a brand. We had 186 passengers that night. Full flight. Mostly families heading home after Halloween celebrations, some business travelers, the usual mix. Pre-flight checks were normal. Everything was by the book. Weather looked good. Clear skies, light winds. Perfect conditions. Almost too perfect. Rebecca made a joke about it. Feels like the calm before the storm, she said with a laugh. I wish to God she hadn't said that. We pushed back from the gate at 11:43 p.m., 4 minutes early. Boston Tower cleared us for takeoff on runway 4R. I remember the lights of the city spreading out below us like a blanket of stars as we climbed. Beautiful. Peaceful. Rebecca was handling the radios, I was flying. We reached our cruising altitude of 37,000 feet at exactly 12:14 a.m. That's when things started to get strange. At first, it was just the radios. We lost contact with Boston Center. Not unusual in certain areas, but we should have been well within range. Rebecca tried multiple frequencies. Nothing but static. Then she tried the backup radio. Same thing. Just that awful, hollow static that makes your skin crawl. That's weird, Rebecca said, adjusting her headset. Everything was fine 5 minutes ago. I wasn't too concerned yet. We've all experienced radio failures before. We had protocols. We'd continue on our filed flight plan and re-establish contact when we could. But then I noticed something on the navigation display that made my stomach drop. Our GPS wasn't working. Not just malfunctioning. It was showing our position as... I don't even know how to describe it. The coordinates were changing randomly. 1 second we were over New York, the next second over the Atlantic Ocean, then over Kansas. It was jumping around like crazy. Rebecca saw it too. I watched the color drain from her face. Dave, she whispered, and I heard genuine fear in her voice for the first time. What the hell is happening? I tried the backup GPS, same insane readings. I checked our inertial navigation system. It had completely failed. Dead. All 3 of our primary navigation systems were either dead or giving us impossible information. In 22 years of flying, I had never seen anything like this. But here's where it gets really fucked up. I looked out the cockpit window to navigate visually, to see if I could spot any landmarks, any cities below us. And what I saw made absolutely no sense. There was nothing. No cities. No lights. No roads. No towns. Nothing. Just absolute darkness below us. As if we were flying over an empty void. Rebecca, look outside, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. Do you see anything? She leaned forward, pressing her face close to the window. Jesus Christ, Dave. Where are the cities? Where are we? The cabin intercom chimed. It was Sarah Martinez, our lead flight attendant. 38 years old, mother of 3, from Miami. She'd been flying for 15 years. One of the best. Captain Morrison, we have a situation back here. What kind of situation, Sarah? Her voice was shaking. The passengers, they're saying they can't see anything outside the windows. No ground lights. Nothing. They're starting to panic. And Captain, some of them are saying they can see things outside, moving past the windows. My blood ran cold. What kind of things? I don't know how to describe it, sir. They look like shadows. But they're keeping pace with the aircraft. Sir, I've never seen anything like this. What do I tell them? I told her to keep everyone calm, that we were experiencing some technical issues but everything was under control. It was a lie. Nothing was under control. Rebecca was frantically trying every radio frequency we had. International Guard frequency, emergency frequencies, everything. Nothing but that horrible static. And then, through the static, we heard something. A voice. But it wasn't from air traffic control. The voice was distorted, like it was being played backwards and forwards at the same time. It said, "You should not be here." Rebecca's hand was shaking as she held the microphone. "Who is this? Identify yourself." The voice came back, "Turn back. You have crossed into somewhere you do not belong." "This is Flight 227, I said, grabbing the microphone. "We are experiencing navigation failure. We need immediate assistance. Can you provide vectors?" There was a long silence. "Then, there are no vectors here. There is no way back. You fly in the space between." Folks, I want you to understand something. I'm a rational man. I believe in science, in physics, in the laws of nature. But what happened next defied every single thing I thought I knew about reality. The cockpit lights started flickering. The instrument panels began glitching, showing readings that were impossible. Our airspeed indicator showed we were going 2,000 knots 1 second, then showed 0 the next. The altimeter was spinning wildly. The attitude indicator showed we were inverted, then climbing vertically, then diving, all while the aircraft felt completely stable. And then I saw them. Outside the cockpit window, there were shapes moving in the darkness. They weren't clouds. They weren't other aircraft. They were. God, I don't even know what to call them. They looked almost human, but stretched out, elongated, like shadows that had been pulled apart. And they were keeping perfect formation with us. Flying alongside the aircraft. Dozens of them. One of them turned to look at us. It had no face. Just a blank, smooth surface where a face should have been. But I could feel it looking at us. Studying us. And then it smiled. I don't know how I knew it was smiling when it had no mouth, but I knew. It was the most terrifying thing I've ever experienced. Rebecca was crying now, tears streaming down her face. "Dave, what do we do? What the fuck do we do?" I made a decision. I was going to get us out of this. I didn't care how. I grabbed the yoke and I started descending. Rapid descent. I was going to get us out of this altitude, out of this, whatever this place was. The cabin intercom was going crazy. Sarah was screaming. Passengers were screaming. And through it all, that voice on the radio kept repeating, "You cannot leave. You are ours now." We dropped from 37,000 feet to 20,000 feet in less than 3 minutes. The aircraft was shaking. Alarms were blaring. The stall warning was screaming at us. I didn't care. I just kept descending. And then, at 15,000 feet, everything changed. The radios crackled to life. Real voices. Real air traffic control. "Flight 227, Denver Center, we've been trying to reach you for the last hour. Do you copy?" The navigation systems flickered and came back online. GPS was showing our correct position. We were exactly where we were supposed to be, on our flight plan, approaching Denver. I looked outside. There were cities below us again. Lights. Roads. Civilization. The shadows were gone. Rebecca and I just sat there for a moment, breathing heavily, trying to process what had just happened. The cockpit clock showed 3:47 a.m. We had lost almost 3 hours. 3 hours that felt like an eternity but also like no time at all. We landed in Denver at 4:12 a.m. Nobody said a word as we taxied to the gate. The passengers deplaned quickly, most of them looking shaken. Some of them wouldn't even make eye contact with us. Sarah came to the cockpit after everyone had left. Her face was pale, her hands were trembling. "Captain," she said quietly. "What happened up there?" "I don't know," I replied honestly. "I really don't know." She nodded slowly. "Some of the passengers, they told me they saw things outside the windows. Faces. People floating in the darkness, keeping pace with the plane. One man said he saw his dead father out there, waving at him. I filed a report with the airline. Rebecca did too. We were thorough. We documented everything. The navigation failures, the radio anomalies, the 3 missing hours, everything. You know what happened? Nothing. The airline's investigation concluded it was a technical malfunction combined with severe stress and possible carbon monoxide exposure. They grounded the aircraft for 2 days, ran every test imaginable, and found absolutely nothing wrong. Not a single fault. The aircraft was perfect. They put us through psychological evaluations. They drug tested us. They interviewed every passenger who was willing to talk, and most of them weren't. The ones who did talk all told different stories. Some saw nothing unusual. Some saw the same shadows we did. Some saw things I can't even bring myself to repeat. Rebecca quit flying 2 weeks later. Just walked away from her career. The last time I talked to her, she told me she couldn't sleep anymore. She said she still hears that voice from the radio in her dreams. "You are ours now." I kept flying. I had bills to pay, a family to support. But I'll tell you something. Every time I fly at night, every time I'm at cruising altitude in the darkness, I watch the windows. I watch for those shadows. Because I know they're out there. And here's the part that keeps me up at night, the part that makes me question everything. 3 days after Flight 227, I was doing some research. I was trying to find any other reports of similar incidents. And I found something. A flight in 1952, a TWA aircraft that disappeared from radar for 4 hours before reappearing on course with no explanation. A Lufthansa flight in 1987 that reported navigational anomalies and visual disturbances at cruising altitude. An Aeromexico flight in 2003 that experienced unexplained time loss and system failures. They're always at night. Always at high altitude. And they're always dismissed as equipment failure or crew error. But I know the truth. There's something up there, in the thin air between Earth and space. Something that exists in the spaces we're not supposed to go. And on Halloween night in 2019, Flight 227 accidentally flew into their domain. I found one more thing that made my blood run cold. In the aircraft maintenance logs for an 8392K, the Boeing 737 we flew that night, there was an entry from October 30th, the day before our flight. A mechanic noted finding strange scratches on the exterior of the aircraft. Long, thin scratches that ran the entire length of the fuselage. The scratches weren't deep enough to compromise the aircraft's integrity, so they were documented but not repaired. The report described them as appearing as if something with very long fingers had dragged them along the aircraft's skin. I recently learned that Rebecca is in psychiatric care now. Full-time. She had a complete breakdown 3 months after the flight. She keeps telling the doctors that they're waiting for me and that they marked us that night. 5 of the passengers from Flight 227 have also reported ongoing psychological issues. 2 have had to leave their jobs. 1 moved to a different state entirely, saying she couldn't stay anywhere near an airport. Last week, I was scheduled for another red-eye flight. Boston to Denver. Same route. Same type of aircraft. I called in sick. I couldn't do it. I can't fly that route anymore. The airline's not happy about it, but I don't care. I know what's waiting up there in the darkness. Sometimes, late at night, I still hear that voice from the radio. Not through any device. Just in my head. You are ours now. And I wonder if they're right. I wonder if that night, when we crossed into that place between places, we left something behind. Or brought something back with us. I'm telling you this story because you need to know. The next time you're on a night flight, the next time you look out that window into the darkness, remember that there are things up there we don't understand. Things that exist in the spaces between our world and somewhere else. And if you ever find yourself on a flight where the navigation fails, where the radios go silent, where you look outside and see only darkness, pray. Pray that you find your way back. Because not everyone does. The official FAA records will tell you that Flight 227 from Boston to Denver on October 31, 2019, was a routine flight with minor technical difficulties. The official records are lying. I know what we saw. I know where we went. And I know that somewhere out there, in the cold darkness at 37,000 feet, they're still flying. Those shadow things. Still keeping pace with aircraft. Still waiting for another plane to stray into their domain. Rebecca sent me a message last month from the facility where she's staying. It was just 3 words, they're coming back. I don't know what she means. I don't want to know. But every night, when I close my eyes, I see that faceless shadow smile at me through the cockpit window. And I hear that voice, you are ours now. If you've made it this far, please, do me a favor. Subscribe to this channel. Share this story. Not because I want attention, but because people need to know. Pilots need to know. And if you know anyone who works in aviation, anyone who flies at night, tell them to be careful. Tell them to watch the darkness. Because the darkness is watching them. My name is Captain David Morrison. I fly for a major US airline. And I'm telling you right now, there are things in our skies that we were never meant to see. We crossed into their territory once. And I don't think they've forgotten. That's all I can say. That's all I'm willing to say. The rest stays with me. At least until they come back for me. Because I know they will. Eventually. They marked us that night. And they always collect what's theirs.